kind of connected lectures, mini lectures, both Slovak and both with some Arabic motivation. First, our honorary president, Bedrich Formanek. Please welcome him. Could you guess this man is soon 90? I guess not, yes. In half a year. So, as always, but this always is not so often because he doesn't come so often, he will have something entertaining and a bit funny and something from the history of chess composition and the part of history that this part of the world should be proud of. So, please, Bedrich.
Thank you very much. I try to speak without microphone. Is it all right for you? All right? If you are not, please, I try with it, but there is something wrong in it, you know? So, I will show you two chess compositions. The first will be so-called joke composition. Perhaps those you are from you not very young remember that in the past I had almost in every congress one mini lecture about joke composition. So I found that it is quite popular, and I decided to do something also here, but connected to a certain extent with old Arab chess. It means shatranji. This is the first one. It is made into perhaps not necessary to show just near the diagram. It is made into with two solutions. You see how many solutions is written. It is the question for the audience. How many solutions? So what do you think? 2 or 1? It looks like for 2 solutions. The first is pawn promoted to knight. Is it possible to do?
Prosím vás, pěkně.
Tam rozumím, ten mikrofon se zaujíma. So, you noticed that there are 2 solutions. The first was with knight, and then what was the mate? The mate was rook G7, yes? And then if you promote, no, yes, this is. And if you promote the pawn to bishop, then after one move is made rook a6. Perhaps it is not very original. I don't know. I didn't try to find some predecessor. Anyway, it is not important for this case, because the point is in the dedication. It is dedicated to NN. Who is NN? Unknown soldier, for instance, could be unknown soldier, yes? But I can now reveal the name of this man. This man is called Al-Adli. I hope that most of you know who were Al-Adli. Who doesn't know, please give me 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are about 10 or 20 people who doesn't know. Al-Adli was the best chess player in ancient Arabia. He lived from 800 until 870 in 9th century. And perhaps he was really the best Arab chess player and also composer. And I dedicated this problem to Mr. Al-Adli. What does it mean? That it is not normal chess because Al-Adli didn't understand our modern chess. Al-Adli played Shatranj, this old form of chess, and in this case there is no bishop on e5 because they didn't know at all our modern bishops. Who is it? Who is it? It is so-called alfil in Arabian language. By the way, they use the word alfil also for modern bishop. But at that time, the same name was quite different chess piece. You know what is the mobility of alfil. Alfil is jumping from diagonally for 2 squares. This alfil moves on c7 or c3 or g3 or g7. Of course, g7 not because there is a pawn on this. So this is the first change between ancient chess called Shatranj and modern chess. The second rule, which was different at that time, 1,300 years ago, was the promotion of the pawn. Pawn was could be promoted only to so-called fers. And fers, I little bit hesitate about this old Arab terminology. I discussed this with our friends from here, but I am not quite sure how it was before. Fers is a chess unit which moves 1 square diagonally, not 2, but 1. For instance, if you have, instead of this alfil e5, a fers, so fers can move on d4, d6, d4, d6, f6, and f4. So it is something like short alfil. And the pawn could be promoted only to fers in this ancient form of chess. So please do the first move there. G7 to G8, and it is promoted to fers. You can use any symbol. Difficult because fers is now has the form of the opposite queen. Yes, opposite queen. Never mind. You can imagine pawn from G7 moved to G8, and after this, king moved to G6, and there is a mate rook A6. So the problem or this two-mover has only one solution, but it is in the ancient form of chess. It is less than 2, of course, but one One aspect with this old form of chess is so that the mate is a model mate. And you know, in this original problem, the mate, after you can do it with bishop, G8 bishop, yes, king G6, and then rook H6 mate. It is not a model mate because the square F6 is guarded by two units. It means rook and bishop. But if you have not bishop but alfil on e5, it is a model mate because alfil is not guarded f6. So this is a model mate, even so-called ideal model mate, and it is very interesting because Arab chess composers were first in the history who appreciated model mates. Several ancient Arab compositions were constructed with model mates. So it is also very interesting. So the question is, the answer is how many solutions? Only one solution, but of course in this ancient form of chess. So this was the first thing. Now we change to the second composition. And here we could be acquainted with real ancient chess units. So you see on B8 and D4 there are fences who move only this one square diagonal, and these turned bishops are moving from f6 to d6 to d6, from f6 to f8 to d6, f8 to h6, and another one only to e6. And we have also white alfil on c1. It moves to c3 and to e3, and second one on f5 moves also these four squares symmetrical. And this is the composition from perhaps Al-Adli. It is almost sure, but not quite, it is not proved. Perhaps also As-Suri was one of the composers of this problem. As-Suri lived about 100 years later than Al-Adli. And the problem is, it is not, what is it written here? It is we win. This is the problem number two. Yes, it is end game. It is end game, and white wins in this end game. So we can try to find the solution. Please start with first move. Knight a4. The only possibility for king is to go to b7, because a7 and c7 are guarded with this fence. Now, the second move is knight to a5, and the good answer is to move on c8, because if you move with king to 8, so it will be made on knight b6. It will be made. So back please, and now this. We go its end, then king d8. I think that it is not necessary to speak about all moves. You see everything what is done. So please go later, and those two horses go after black king. Perhaps now we stop a little bit. You know, of course, alfil f5 is not guarding g7, g6, so it is not check. Black king could go to g6, and now he has two possibilities. One is on g5, and the second on h6. If he moves on h6, it means it is the mate, yes? You see, knight f7, now f7 is mate. So, better is, of course, king g. And now, we go on. King f4, knight f3. You see everything. Rook is guarding those squares. Yes. And yes. And now is very interesting point. This first on d4 was guarded the rook on c5, and we must get rid of this black first. So we must take this. We must take this. Yes, that's it. And can go. And now the round is repeated. You know. Yes. And now we instead of knight a5 can get rid of the rook itself, and we shall see at the end why it is necessary. So please go on, and we repeat the moving on the circle. Now, little bit, yes, later on, yes, now. Go on. Now there is a small duel, yes, after in this position. There is a small duel because you can move with this knight to d4 or d2, but it is a very small mistake. Perhaps could be corrected by black pawn on e3, but never mind, it is not very important. So we can go on. And now is the point of the whole combination. Now is the mate on c6. It was not possible before because there were standing rook on c5, and we must get rid from both black units standing on c5 and d4. So we call this combination, as in New German school, as the Hauptplan. It is Hauptplan or main plan in English word. This is this mate, and we had to get to or to find another plans, so called successive four plans or Gestaffelte Pläne in German language to get rid of these black units. What does it mean? As you know, New German School was created in the beginning of the 20th century, and Arab composers about 1,200 years before showed the very interesting so-called New German combination in this time. So Arabs won against European composers in this field more than millennium. So it's really a very interesting case in the history of chess composition, that the idea was known many years before it was really stated as a terminology. So I think that we can congratulate to Arabic composers that they were so clever and so construction-minded that they do this very important, very difficult thing. They did this very difficult thing so far before. I think that never mind, not necessary to add anything, I think. So this is all I wanted to show you. Only perhaps to add that this is not very known. I don't know why. I was acquainted with this composition about some 20 years ago or even less. I don't know why, but it was published also in some books before, so it is definitely clear that it is from the history, old Arabian history. So perhaps it is enough. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks Bedrich for presenting us this highest level of Arabic art. And now we will be continuing in a, let's say, similar atmosphere, but some Arabic tales maybe. Bedrich, Gvozdjak, Grandmaster of
Are you tired? Should we make a break or better no lecture?
Maybe instead of break, one information. Tomorrow from 3 to 7, this planned excursion for non-delegates and those not busy in the session. Interesting excursion, it will be to Umbrella Beach and to Fujairah Castle from 3 to 7. All those interested in it should register up to 9 o'clock. You will get tonight email note from Julia and with copy to Mohammed. So please reply to both addresses if you are interested to use this opportunity. It will be going to these both nice places with some stack on the way. So it is very important for organizers to know how many persons there will be. Please reply to the email that you will get tonight. The email will be sent to all participants of this Congress. Just those who are ready to go from 3 to 7, register please. And now maybe we can continue, yes? Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. It was not completely exact as Marian said that it will have a connection to Arabic words. Rather it will have a connection to Chinese words. But never mind. The name of my lecture is Seven Dwarfs, a little fairy chess tale. mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of all? And the mirror answered, you are a queen, you are beautiful, but in the forest there is a small little girl, the Snow White, who is even more beautiful than you. You can imagine. The queen was so upset that she collapsed down and she fell on age 6, the queen, after collapse. So now we will move a little bit to the chess, but pay attention, I will ask one question in the end. So who wants to sleep, go to sleep, and I will continue. I will try to show a fairy juggle word, also for those who never heard of fairy pieces or fairy conditions. So I selected something quite simple, but I will try to introduce in a single way to guys who just play the chess game. So you see orthodox normal pieces, they are upside down, and you see some pieces turned 90 degrees, they are fairy pieces. But these fairy pieces are quite simple to explain, and all these 4 types of fairy pieces are Chinese pieces. The A6, the red queen, is a Chinese queen, or her name is Leo. The Chinese queen moves like normal queen, but captures and also checks after jumping a hurdle. So the Leo A6 can move to, you will see where it can move. It can move to these 3 squares, like a normal queen. Similarly, we have these bishops turned 90 degrees, and these are called Pao. Okay, I will pick. Who are the 7 dwarfs? The mother who had these 7 little guys had not much fantasy, and she named them only with 4 names: Leo, Pao, Val, and Now. So we have several Nows, several Paos, and so on. Just to explain how they work, how they move, and how it works. This one, sorry. Yes. This one, okay, what's the trouble? Yes. The guy on G5 can move here as a normal bishop, but it guards D8 because this is a hurdle. Similarly, this one can move here, but guards F8 because E7 is a hurdle. And similarly, these rotated rooks are called Paos. This one can move here, but guards D7, so king cannot move. This one can move here and here, but guards F7, and so on. A little bit more complicated are these nows, because they move like this. Anyhow, it's simple. They move in an octagonal or almost circle, like knight. Knight comes here, and so on. This one, how can it capture H6, H8? You see, it can capture. Can you imagine? On F3, E5, hurdle F7, and capture H8. Is that clear? Okay. That's it. That is how it works. That is how the pieces move, and I think we can try to solve it because we have here solvers from World Championship. So who can guess the first ball? You have 30 seconds. Just pick up the hand. What's the first ball? It's a classical fairy mover. Michelle, you were sometimes very good solver. What's the first ball?
Times.
Nobody, no. Just take courage. Oh. How will you solve tomorrow?
Okay, the power somewhere else has to give the flight.
Sorry?
The power must get the flight. Power from the 7.
Oh, okay. You have difficult competition tomorrow. So this is the key. And now tell me how many flights are provided. It's simple.
All.
How many?
All.
Who said 4?
7. All.
All? Yes, all.
Look at the subject of the lecture. It is 7.
No 7, Michel.
7 dwarfs.
I say flights. Wrong, Michel. 0.
Sorry.
Okay, so just name the squares. There are flights. Oh, yes. We will see where king can move. Ah, 6 flights. 6 flights, of course. It's a joke. Okay, can you follow me? 6 flights? Yes, of course. What's the threat? The threat needs to guard these 6 flights and give a check. Yes, E7, but which piece? There can 7 pieces can move to E7. Which one?
E5. Wow. G5. Gustav 5.
We will try G5. Michel's suggestion.
Maybe.
Michel, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Any others?
Oh, sorry.
We can try this one. Similarly. And so on. So these 2 guys will not work. Of course, because of this. I think we should try these 2 guys. Let's try this one. King cannot move. Is it a threat? No. This is a refutation of the threat. Okay. So I will show you. This is the threat. This is called anti-battery. Because this checks, this is the hurdle, and all the squares, all the 4 flights are guarded, and black cannot move to G8 or to C8 to make a castle. So this is a threat. It's clear? Yeah. So let's start with some defenses. What will we make now? Is it so difficult?
97.
This is flight, so yes, exactly. Okay? This is hurdle, and this guy makes. Okay, so let's come here. What is the mate? Somebody here. Don't go to championship tomorrow, please. Let's try this. Perhaps you are right. I think so. Great. What about after this? Okay, small hint. This is the flight. What about this? This must come here. Otherwise this will be captured by this black power. One more defense or two more defenses. What's the mate now? This is a flight. Okay, I don't know. You should solve it. I think this is okay. Yes? And we have the last one. And now? I think you should solve, or you should find at least one mate. Mating one. Who? Somebody comes to E7. Yes, perfect. Oh, it's a little switchback. Because white switches the back, but black cannot uncastle. So we have quite a classical key onto E8. We have threat and 6 variations to E7. So I think Solar finding such a solution will be quite happy. But this is the difference between Solar and Composer. Solar is happy with finding these solutions. The question is, not the last question, but now the question is, what is the theme? Why has it been composed at all? Not because of Ivan or Gapao. So now I will try to be faster. And you will see who were the composers who tried this theme, and you could guess. So let's see. Now let's go through the variations. Once again, this is a key, and this is the threat. And we see E7 is the mating, E1 is the mating piece as anti-battery rear piece, and the front piece on E7 is the guy from C2. No need to remember that, but just follow me. After this defense, this is the mate. So this is the mating piece, which was the front piece, and now this is the front piece from E7. We have another variation. Now, this is the mating piece, which was the front piece, and this one came from here. It is the front piece. It makes a hurdle. Another variation. This is the mating piece, which was the front piece, and this one is the front piece, and so on. F8, this is a mate. So this is the mating anti-battery, and this is the front piece from F7. Coming here, this is the mate. this is a mating piece from F7, and this is a front piece coming from G2. And finally, this is a mating piece, which was the front piece, and this is the front piece, which was the mating piece in the thread, in the first variation. So we have quite a simple single-phase two-mover with seven-fold cycle of anti-battery pieces making the front and the mating piece. Is it nice at least? Yes, that's all. You see the authors, but not to forget the question. There is on H4 this piece on H4 guards F6 in one variation. So there might be a bishop there on H4. The question is why there is not a bishop on H4. It's the last question. Don't care of two bishops because we are in fair chess. Yes, please.
Because black move Leo A3 and check.
Black?
Black Lee move A3 and check white king.
Almost, but the H6 cannot move to A3 because it would need to capture, because it only can capture or check after the hurdle. But anyhow, thank you. You are the most courageous person here who tried something. All other answers. No. Yes, for her. Yes, thank you. Okay, I will give you the answer because you. Yes, perhaps. Guys from India. Yes. No, nothing technical. You should recall the fairy tale. You know, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And what is in the end? The Snow White marries her prince. This is the Snow White marries her prince. And how will be the fairy tale without Snow White? It would be nonsense. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so I can do this. And I edited with Rafi Rupi a book that was prepared by Uri Avner within his life. He, at the end of his life, he began to prepare a book about his own problems, and unfortunately he died now 8 years ago, rather young, and we had to put all that, his selection of problems in the book, and we did not make the selection, he made it, and we put it in order so that it is a booklet with about 160, a little bit less than 160 problems, and we made so that it will be clear with the solutions, all the thematic tables and all that. So Uri Avner is very well known, but I wanted to show some of his important problems. He had a taste for complex ideas and also for harmony and for interesting things. It means that he was interested in understanding why a problem is interesting, not only to realize a special theme, begin with simple things. This is a simple two-mover. It was used in a tournament of a solution in Israel. I came late, and I made a mistake. I put the try as the key. Okay, let's have a look. You have a flight on e6 with two prepared mates. If the king flies, you have queen d7 mate. And if the queen takes on e6, you have knight on c3, on e3. Look at the diagram. You want to organize a threat, and you find easily that queen a2, which propose indirect battery to e6, will be a possible key. And then the two moves are defenses. You have king, this is the threat, king to e6 gives knight to e3 and not knight to d6 because it will close the line of the rook d3 so that d7 will be applied. And you have on queen takes on e6, queen f2. The defect of f2. The defect of the try is that the black queen can take on g7, give a flight, and then can give g6 as a flight, and then you have no line. In fact, the key changed all the set and take the flight e6 and gives e4 at f4. So you go with the knight e6 to f4, and then you have similarly the same set, but in orthogonal direction now, not on diagonal. You have indirect battery, and you need to take back the flight on f4. So the threat is knight to e3. Of course, not knight to d6 because the line of the queen is open now. The h6 to d6. So the threat is only to e3. And you have two similar variations. King to f4, and then knight to d6, and not to e3 because of the same rook that is now intercepted to g3. It would be a flight to g3, and so the mate is on d6. And if the queen takes on a4, you have queen d7 mate. So this is a simple example of an example of simple, rather simple problem by Uri. So I go on to the second one. This is a problem, a nice small mover that was made at a meeting in Andalach by Uri and Michel. I show it because it's rather simple to understand and quite nice. The Uri was used to come to many meetings, and there he made the problems with friends, and also he composed at many occasions, many opportunities for big competitive events like WCCC and things like that. So it was in Andana, and the key is 4-mover, mate in 4, rook to a2, with a nice quiet threat, king to b2, and then rook takes on a6, because the knight is keeping a mate on c7. So if black defend by making a queen of things, it will be of no help. So the two defense are preparing a stalemate motivation. You have pawn takes on g1 mate bishop in order to go, if you go by king to b2, you'll have bishop d6, and then the white cannot take anymore on e6 because of stalemate. But so because of the pin on the sixth rank. So on g1 it makes a bishop. You have black that is the white is closing the bishop by e3, and then you see that you have two turns. Black is obliged to play on f2 and h2. The rook is controlling, so black has to take on e3, and now you have the same kind of pin but without stalemate. You pin on e2 but without taking the knight on s6, and then it is good for white. You have mate. Similarly, you have the second thematic variation. Black can make a bishop on h1 with the same kind of defense. If king goes to b2, the bishop will go to c3 to c6, and then it will be stalemate. And on the same kind of operation, now instead of playing e3, you play e4. And then still you see that the bishop is closed. On g2 it is captured by the rook, on f3 by the knight, and on e4 it will be pinned. Similarly so. A rather light present example of a nice idea. Another example of this is a four-mover that is rather unusual on, let's say, New German style. You have a four-mover. You see that you can see that the two knights may give mate on f2 or on g5. You have the knight h3 that can give mate on f2 or on g5. And the pawns are keeping, the pawns h6 and the pawn g3 are keeping these mates. So you can try at first, because you have four moves, you can try bishop takes h6, king goes to bishop f4 takes h6, check. King takes e4, e5, bishop comes back, and now you can king comes back also, but in the same time that white was able to take on h6, in the same time the black king took the pawn and then opened the line of the rook on a5, and so the mate is not possible. Similarly, you have the second try. If you play bishop takes on g3, king takes on e3, switch back, check, the black king comes back, and then the mate is not possible because of the bishop on a7. So this is a passive activation of the lines. It is quite unusual. Generally, the defense is not provoked by white. Here, it is white that is giving the opportunity to the black king to take the white pawn, and it is negative for white. Generally, when you have elimination of a white pawn, it's in favor of the white in the usual problems. So now you can have a look at the key. The key is a nice move that takes off the bishop d1 from his spinning line and gives a long solution, a long thread. Bishop to g5, a check, king e5, queen f4, and a mate by the battery c4, c5. And so this threat is not easily defended, and the only way for white to defend, for black to defend, is to play on c5. And they cannot play with the knight because the knight d7 controls f6 mate. So now you understand, you have the two variations. If bishop plays on c5, you have bishop takes on e6, king, switch back the king, and now you can mate because of the initial revolution. And similarly, you have the second variation, rook to c5, bishop takes on d3, king, switch back, and mate on f2. So this is also a very clear example of a problem that is bringing something, I think, original. We don't see in such kind of elimination of a white pawn that is done in a negative way, forced by it is forced by white, and it is against white. Here is a helpmate. So I gave orthodox direct mates. Now it's a helpmate, and it is an illustration of the way of thinking of pooling. The question I could like Peter that like to ask questions. The solution is here, but just try not to look at the solution, but let's think where should be on what kind of mate you have to prepare. Where should be the mate when you have to solve it? All the black king is closed, and you just have to find or to imagine how to give mate here. And so in fact, it's too late. Okay. So let's have a look at the solutions. You have knight G goes to E5. Knight G, yeah, to E5 to unpin the rook on B2. Queen to G1. So preparing a battery, but the place is defended by a black pawn. In any case, rook plays to B5, and because of it is hiding itself behind the bishop, behind the knight that went to D5, and now king takes the pawn. So that's why you cannot take on H3. The king cannot take H3 because the queen is controlling H3. That's why the queen had to go to G1 and not to G2. And in the other solution, you have the same knight go to E7 to unpin the queen. Now you play queen to g2 and not to g1, the queen hides herself on d8, and then you play king to h3. And if you had the queen on g1, the king would not be able to take on h2 because of the rook b2. So this is, as I understand it, it's a way of thinking where the composer not only makes a problem, but also thinks how to manage a surprise or something interesting in the way. It's not only a thematic problem, it's also very, very nicely thought. Here is a very, for me, very interesting problem. You have two set mates that should be easily made. Knight to b2 or knight to e5. So the knight is not giving mate because of sum of effect. He closes lines of the white pieces that are controlling the black king. So you could think easily that if you come with the black piece, you have two free moves. So if you go with the black piece to c2 or to d4, you will manage to have the mat that is prepared. But well, in fact, you cannot. And the two possibilities you have, let's try. If you have a knight to b4, takes on b4, but now you understand that taking on b4 is not good for helping, because it will, when the knight will go to c2, it will open the rook, and then the black rook, b5, and then the mate on b2 will not be possible. But in any case, this is a solution, but you intervert, you exchange the possibilities, and now, because of the pawn that is taken, that is forbidding the mate on b2, it will now allow the other mate, because now you will be able to play rook a4, that uses the fact that b4 is free, and after knight to c2, the mate is effective on e5, because the line has been opened. So it's something that is related to correction play. In fact, you cannot really speak of correction play when you have no threat. It is a helpmate, but you see that you have secondary effect, and it is especially unexpected and nice. And now you have the second solution. You want to go to d4, so you begin by b6 takes c5, and then the same idea, the rook on b5 will be opened to e5. So in fact, the blocking of d4 will not be easily used by white to wait on e5, but white will be able to use it by moving the queen now to c8, that is, and once again, using the opening of the c5 square, and after pawn takes, you have now knight to b2. So this is a very complex idea, very new, and it shows the way of thinking to find new and complex ideas in helpmate too. So, of course, all the problems I show are liked. It is not clearly defined. He called that mirage, fata morgana. It means something that you can think. You have a meaning of the things, but in fact it appears afterward that it is completely something else. And it is what was in the handmade before, and it is also one of the problems he made as a young teenager. So you have, you can see a black battery with the queen aiming to the white king on d8, and you can also understand that you will have bishop takes e5 and rook takes e3. That might be an interesting move to force the king to move. And in fact, in the set play, if you have the knight d7 that takes or b8 or b6, you will have these two variations. And you have these two variations only after the knight has played, because the bishop a4 is then guarding e8. So, set play, I show it. Yes, knight to b8, rook takes, and and the other variation, knight takes on b6, and then bishop to e5, king wins. But the key changes all this, and now that you have queen to d6. The key is queen to d6 with a threat on e7, because the battery rook g8, bishop f8, when playing the bishop, you control also e8. So the flight on e8 is not a problem for this threat. The problem of the key, the problem of the key, that now you add the control on e5 and on e6, and then the bishop and the rook that were our main possibilities to give mate appear now to be our enemies. Because of the rook and because of the bishop, we cannot think of mating on e6 or not mating, forcing mate by playing on e6 or on e5. But the fact is that to defend the threat, black must move the knight d7 in order to open the line of the rook a7. But then it opens also the line of the bishop a4 to control a8. And then the only squares where the knight can play are only b6 and b8. And then it will remove the disturbing white piece that is now on the board. So after knight takes on b8, you have queen e5. And after knight takes on b6, you have queen e6, because the disturbing pieces are destroyed by the black move. So you see a drastic change of pieces that are our main force, that becomes to be our main enemy, I would say, our main problem. So this is also related to what we call mirage or fata, because the two pieces, bishop b8 and rook b6, appears to be of a complete different importance before and after the king. This is an example, of course, everyone knows, perhaps not everyone, many of you know that much involved in self-mades. He made very complex self-mades and very interesting one. Also with interesting ideas, not always complex, but with harmony and deep meaning of things. Here you have a problem like this. You have a self-made in 3, and so you want to get rid of the 2 knights that are in between. The white knight on e8 is disturbing because it controls the black battery. So the first and simple idea is to get rid of this knight and to wait what happens. So the try is very natural. You go to knight g7, the only square that is seemingly free, and you say after any knight that will go, I will manage to force the second knight to move. So let's say after the key, knight e5 goes anywhere. Let's say yes, f7, and then you have queen b2, and easily forcing the knight to move. And the second solution, and the second variation, if the c knight goes anywhere, you have now queen a4, king to c3, and then queen c4 give an easy way to force black to give mate. But well, this doesn't work because the knight e5 when moving can take on d3, and then if you want to go on, you can take the queen. So the solution is paradoxically to get in the semi-battery to make it to close the line of the bishop. So it seems not evident at first, but then you see it works well, and you see that instead of forcing the knight to move with sacrificing the white king, of course the solution will be to sacrifice the white knight. So it's not so difficult, but it's very nice to, and you have to think a bit before you find it. So we see the variations. Knight e goes anywhere, queen a4, king c3, and now knight goes to b5 to force the mate. And similarly, if the knight goes anywhere, queen to a4, to b2, sorry, and then knight c4, forcing the knight. So you see that the mates, it's not very complicated. So it means that the mates are on b5 and on c4 in both places. Once it is given by the queen, once it's given by the knight. So the global structure is easily understood, but it's in any case a very nice and pretty neat problem. Next. Well, this is one I wanted also to show the great skills of Uri in very complex tasks and ideas. And here is one of the examples of his famous self-mates. And in fact, you have here 2 white half pins, and the idea is that you will have all the combinations of double pin that will be used in the different variations. Let's have a look. Bishop to g7, threatening knight c3, pinning the queen. The pawn takes on c3, and rook takes on e3, forcing knight taking with the both pinning of the queen and the knight on c4. So first variation. Rook. I go fast because I want to show some problems. I don't want you to be too much tired. Rook takes on a5. That is giving a flight to the if I don't yes, gives a flight on d5. Knight takes checks on d6. King d5 and knight e3 check, forcing again, because interestingly you can see that it is also now the queen and the rook that are pinned, and by the way you have also the pawn on d4 that is pinned, so that all that works as it needs. Second variation. The knight goes somewhere because it is the mating piece, so it's natural to take it off. And now you have knight check, pawn takes, and knight to d2, forcing rook or bishop take. And this is also a mate. This is not a dramatic variation because it doesn't use the pin of the rook on d4. It is just by the way. Now bishop takes on c4, pinning the rook. Bishop a5, rook king d5. Knight e3. We already saw this move, but now it is not the same pieces that are pinned. If I don't, well, it is the same. Next variation. It looks like the first variation we saw. Rook takes on c1, pinning the knight. Bishop f5, king to d5, and now the c knight is going. So now you have another set of double pin. Now it is the knight d1 and the rook. Next variation. The knight goes to b1 in order to close the line of the half pin. You go to knight f2 check, e takes, knight d2, and now the knight that went to close, this is the knight that will be obliged to give mate, and again another new set of half pin. Next one, knight to c2, rook takes on d4, knight takes, queen to e3, and this time the mate is with the help of the two pins of the two knights. Next variation. So this has to be studied a little bit more deeply than what I am showing now, to look carefully. But it's a very, very interesting way of showing the four combinations of the two semi half pins. I prepared some other problems. I thought if you want, I can give you three more if you're interested. There are Uri made also many ferry problems in the different meetings. There were themes with ferry pieces or ferry stipulations, and there are generally very deep. I selected 2 or 3 more actually. So this is rather it demands it should be it's not easy to explain also. So the piece on A2 is a rose. A rose we saw already with the Peter problem. It is going on octagonal lines. From, for example, the rose A2 can go to B4, D5, F4, and till G2. Or just to, it will not go there, of course, but this is the kind. So, and you have two ferry conditions, two ferry rules. One is anti-Circe, as anti-Circe means that when a piece takes an opposite piece, it is reborn on its Circe square. But in place of in case of the occupied rebirth square, the capture is forbidden. So, for example, the knight on D2, let's say the knight on D2, if the knight captures, it will capture on white square, so it will be reborn on B1. But if a knight takes on a black square, so it should be reborn on G1, and G1 is occupied, so the knight will not be able to take something on a black square, for example. Now, the rose, how can it be with roses? Roses are seen as coming from promotion, and so when they take, they are the square, rebirth square is the square of the promotion of the same column of the capture. For example, here, if the rose takes on C3, it will be reborn on C8, and if C8 was occupied, the capture was forbidden. Now, this is anti-Circe and this is rose. Now you have bicolor. Bicolor is another very rule that means that a king might be checked also by the pieces of his own color. For example, the king on D3 cannot go to C2 because it should be in check. It would be in check by the black queen. Also, the pawn on C3 is pinned because if it plays, then the queen will check her king. So, and similarly, white cannot put their king in check by black. also by white pieces. So you have on the diagram, I just explained that C2 is controlled by the queen B3. So there is only one flight that is king to E3. So let's have a look at the two thematic moves. You have knight to D4 that allows bishop to take on B3. That is reborn on C1 because of Silsile rules. That is not given check to the white king because the D2 square is closed, and that the two lines of the rook A3 and the queen B3 makes dissonate. Black cannot do anything to get out from this mate. Second set play, king to E3, and then you have rows in this is allowing king to rose to C3, that is reborn to C8. But why it was not possible before? Because this move now can be played because C3 is closed. Otherwise, from C3, from C8, the rows would give check to the white king. C8, B6, C4, E3, G4, and white king on H6. So now that the king closed the line of the C8 rows, this mate is possible. And also, yes. So let's see immediately the key. And the key is knight from D2 to C4. And you understand what I taught before. It is opening and closing two white lines. Now the bishop on C1 will give check to the king, but the rows on C8 will no more give check on C8. So you have the threat is queen takes on C3, giving check, double check by the queen B3 and the queen D1. And the flight is kept by the flight E3 is kept by the black queen and not by the knight on C4 that is not able to take on black squares because of the knight G1. Okay, so in order to defend the threat, black can close the line of the queen by playing knight to D4. But then you will have rose goes to C3, and now without any problem because of the key on C8, the rose doesn't control anymore, that doesn't check anymore its own king, and and the second variation is king to E3, and now because of the king that went in between C1 and H6, you can give check and mate by bishop takes C3, reborn on C1, because now the white king is no more in check. It's a little bit difficult to follow. Next problem, the last one. I put one that I made together with Uri. It's only anti-Circe, and with grasshoppers and night riders. So grasshoppers, I just recall, a grasshopper goes on a line of the queens after a hurdle and lands on the square immediately after the hurdle. And it goes to there also to move and also to capture. And the night rider goes in straight lines, like a knight, but you make as many steps as allowed it by the board. So you have the same rules of anti-Circe here that you saw, but because of the many fairy pieces, you have many rebirth squares on proportion rank. So you will have to have a little look at the squares around the king. So A5 is controlled by the grasshopper. The grasshopper controls because it can be reborn on A8. Grasshopper A7 can control A5 because A8 is free. The B5 square is controlled both by the night rider C7 and by the pawn C4. On C5, you have the grasshopper E7 controls C5, and also because C8 is free. The king cannot take on C4 because it should be reborn on E8, and it is E8 controlled by I did not give it's interesting. I did not give a small detail. It is controlled by the night rider C7, and there is two kinds of anti-Circe. One where you cannot capture on the rebirth square because you consider that the rebirth square is occupied, so you cannot capture on it. And another kind here it is the case that you can capture, and you think that you make it empty before you are taking the piece. So that kind of, we choose of course the kind of anti-Circe that is needed, and if the king goes to C4 and then it is reborn on E8, on E8 it can be captured by the night rider C7. Now you have C3 that is not controlled, the C3 square is not controlled by the bishop T2 because C1 is occupied. It is controlled by the rook A3 and also by the grasshopper C1. B3 is controlled by the pawn, by the rook, and not by the queen. Well, this is a short way. Let's have a look at the set play. If grasshopper H2 takes on H7, it will be reborn on H1, and this gives the fact that the grasshopper left gives the opportunity for white to give mate with grasshopper E3. The grasshopper C1 to E3. This is made because it makes C1 empty. It is a battery, fairy battery, and the bishop D2 is giving the mate. And it is possible because before, when the grasshopper was on the set play, you cannot play to E3. Why? If you go to, because the grasshopper H2 will take C7 and then will be reborn on C1. So when the grasshopper on H2 defends this battery, and now you have to go to choose to go to E3. I think mainly because you want also to close the line of the night rider G4, so that it will not be able to take on C2 and be reborn on C1. So you have to go to E3 and not to A1. Next set, next variation in play, what it was, this grasshopper. So the grasshopper F6 takes on H6. This gives now the possible grasshopper to F1. The same idea, why now it is possible. F1 give check by the queen B2. It is also a fairy battery because the queen was not given check because D1 was occupied. But if the grasshopper leaves, you will have in the diagram you have a grasshopper on F6 that can take on D6 and then be reborn on D1. That's why after this grasshopper leaves its line, you have now a grasshopper to F1. And grasshopper had to go to F1 in order to close the line from H1 to D1. Next move, you have in the set play the Knight Rider G4 that takes, and the Knight Rider G4 was, it gives Rook B6. And Rook B6 because from G4, if the Knight Rider was on G4, he could take A7 and then be reborn on A1 and then forbid the mate by the queen, by the Rook B6. Last thematic move, Knight from G5 takes on H7. It gives Knight to D3 mate for two reasons. One, because the pawn cannot capture because D7, Knight to D3 mates. Because the pawn cannot capture, D7 is occupied, and also because the knight on E1 is no more pinned, because when the knight was on G5, the knight on E1 was pinned. Otherwise, if the knight moves, the king can be captured by the knight rider G5. Then the key is king moves from E6 to E5. It closes the line of the grasshopper F6 and threatens C2, C3. That is mate, because otherwise the defense was grasshopper from F6 to B2. Now that this line is closed, the threat is C2, C3. And you see that the key is changing everything. It closes the line of the grasshopper H2. You have no more the pin by the knight rider G5, the pin of the knight E1. But now the pinning piece, the pinning black pieces is the Knight Rider G4. Now the grasshopper F6 does just, we will see, it controls now the pawn on A6 in order, if the mate is on B6, the grasshopper F6 will be able to take on A6 and be reborn on A1, forbidding the mate by the white rook. And the grasshopper on F6 can no more go to D6, so it is not the grasshopper F6 that will forbid the battery, the queen battery, but it will be now the grasshopper H2 that can go to D6. So let's have a look at the variations. Grasshopper takes on H7, so leaves now the possible capture on D6, and so you have grasshopper on F1, gives mate by the queen, and no black piece, no black fairy piece can take on the D5, so this is mate. And you have another thing to underline. Yes, you have to go to F1 and not, for example, on H5, because you have to forbid the grasshopper H1 to go to D1 and to defend the threat. Second variation, the F6 grasshopper takes on H6, and now you have rook B6, because from F6 the capture on A6 is no more possible, and then there is no difference to this mate. Third question, knight G4 takes on H6, and now it is unpinning the knight E1, because as I said before, there is a change of pinning piece, and now the knight is able to mate on D3. The last variation, you have knight takes H7, and now you have the battery by the bishop that is possible, because you have no more the possibility of this Knight Rider to capture on C7. So these are the thematic variations. You have the last variation that is grasshopper to D4, and it gives knight to D8 mate. Right. This is an example of complex problems, as you have some examples of Uri production, and that is just to remind also the great composer and the great personality that Uri was, and